I decided to surprise my husband at his workplace, but when I arrived, I couldn't believe my eyes. You know when life gives you that strange feeling? That quiet whisper in the back of your mind telling you something is off, even though everything looks perfect on the outside? That was me that morning. The sun was barely up, my coffee still warm in the cup holder, and I had the biggest smile on my face. For weeks, my husband had been working late nights, coming home exhausted, claiming deadlines and back-to-back meetings. I believed him, of course I did. He was my husband. My safe place. My person. So, I thought surprising him with lunch would be cute, romantic, maybe even the spark we needed after a stressful month. I rehearsed the whole moment in the car. I'd walk in, he'd look up confused, then smile, maybe even rush over to hug me. We'd laugh. He'd kiss me. It was supposed to be a good day. But the universe had other plans. The moment I stepped into the building, something felt wrong. Not loud wrong, quiet wrong. His co-workers, people who usually greeted me with warm smiles, suddenly avoided my eyes. One woman even opened her mouth to speak, then closed it again and walked past me fast, as if she wanted nothing to do with what might happen next. My heart started beating faster. But I kept walking. Down the hallway. Past the glass offices. Past the break room where two people whispered and pretended not to stare at me. I remember thinking, why does everyone look nervous? And then I reached his door. It was slightly open. Just enough for me to see shadows moving inside. Just enough for me to hear a low voice, his voice, mixed with another voice I didn't recognize. A soft laugh followed. A laugh that did not belong in a professional setting. I froze. Something in me already knew that whatever I saw in the next 3 seconds would change everything. My marriage. My trust. My future. My hand pushed the door open. And that's when I saw it. The moment that made me whisper to myself, this can't be real, this can't be happening to me. Hello, beautiful souls. Before we dive into this journey, how are you doing today? Truly, I want to know. And where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. If you're new here, please, from the bottom of my heart, hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me, and it helps stories like this reach more hearts that need them. Now, settle in. This one's going to stay with you. The dashboard clock read 5:47 a.m. when Elena Wolf pulled into the parking lot of Meridian Tech Solutions. The building loomed against the bruised pre-dawn sky, its windows dark except for one, 3 floors up, where a soft glow leaked through half-drawn blinds. Her husband's office. She knew it by heart, the way you know the geography of someone you've loved for 8 years. In the passenger seat sat a carefully packed lunch, homemade chicken parmesan, the kind he used to beg her to make when they were newlyweds. Tucked inside was a handwritten note on cream paper, missing you. Missing us. Love, your E. She'd rewritten it 3 times that morning, each version trying to capture what she couldn't seem to say out loud anymore. That she felt him slipping. That the distance between them had grown so vast she could no longer see across it. That she was terrified. Elena checked her reflection in the rearview mirror, tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear. When had she started looking so tired? When had the light in her own eyes dimmed? She grabbed the lunch bag, her wedding ring catching the first rays of sunrise, and stepped out into the cool morning air. The lobby was empty, sterile in that corporate way that always made her feel small. Her heels clicked against marble as she moved toward the elevators, rehearsing what she'd say. Surprise! I thought you could use a good breakfast. Casual. Light. Not desperate. Not like a wife who'd been awake since 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering when her marriage had become something she had to fight for instead of something that simply was. The elevator hummed upward. 2nd floor. 3rd floor. Her heart climbed with it. The 3rd floor hallway should have been empty at this hour. It wasn't. 2 employees stood near the break room, their conversation dying the moment they saw her. The woman, someone from accounting Elena had met at the holiday party, offered a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The man, younger, in a wrinkled shirt, suddenly found the floor fascinating. "Morning," Elena said, her voice bright, practiced. "Morning," they echoed, but something passed between them. A look. Quick, loaded, gone. Elena's stomach tightened as she continued down the hall. More people appeared, trickling in early, and each one seemed to register her presence with that same barely concealed reaction. Surprise. Discomfort. Pity? No. Not pity. She was imagining things. She had to be. Her husband's office sat at the end of the corridor, door slightly ajar. Through the gap, she could see movement, shadows shifting against the wall. She heard his voice, low and urgent, and then another voice. Female. Also urgent. Elena's hand trembled as she reached for the door handle. "You can't keep doing this," the woman's voice said, sharp with something Elena couldn't name. Anger? Desperation? I know. Her husband's voice, ragged in a way she'd never heard. I know, but... Elena pushed the door open. The scene branded itself into her memory in fragments, the way trauma always does. Her husband, Adrian, standing too close to a woman Elena didn't recognize. The woman's blouse slightly disheveled, top button undone. Adrian's face draining of all color, his mouth opening and closing like he'd forgotten how to form words. A chair positioned oddly between them, as if someone had stood up too quickly, too guiltily. And the smell, God, the smell of perfume, thick and cloying, nothing like the subtle fragrance Elena wore. The lunch bag slipped from her fingers. The container inside cracked against the floor with a sound like breaking. Elena. Adrian's voice cracked too. What are you doing here?" The woman turned fully now, and Elena saw her face. Young. Beautiful. Flushed. She was already moving toward her purse, her hand shaking as she grabbed it. "I should go," the woman stammered. I'm sorry, She brushed past Elena, trailing that perfume-like evidence. Elena stood frozen in the doorway, her mind trying to process what her heart already knew, what her body was already responding to with adrenaline and nausea and a strange, detached clarity. "Why do you look guilty?" The question came out quieter than she intended, but it landed like a shout in the suddenly silent office. Adrian opened his mouth. Closed it. Ran his hand through his hair, the gesture she'd once found endearing, now seeming calculated, false. "It's not what you think," he finally said, and Elena almost laughed. Almost. Because what else did cheaters say? What other script did they follow? "What am I thinking?" she asked, her voice steadier now, harder. "Tell me, Adrian. What am I thinking?" Before we continue, can I ask a tiny favor? Hit that subscribe button. It means more than you know. Because stories like this, they need witnesses. They need people who understand that sometimes the moments that break us are the ones that save us. He took a step toward her. She took a step back. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't come near me right now." Outside the office, in the hallway, Elena could hear the shuffle of feet, the pretense of people going about their morning, but she knew they were listening. Everyone was listening. Everyone had known something she didn't. How long had they known? How long had she been the fool? Elena turned and walked away, leaving the broken lunch container, leaving the note she'd written with such pathetic hope, leaving her husband standing in his office that smelled like another woman's perfume. She walked past the employees who couldn't meet her eyes, past the pity that clung to the walls like humidity, past the elevator because she couldn't bear to stand still, couldn't bear to be trapped in that small metal box with her own thoughts. She took the stairs, her heels echoing in the concrete stairwell, and with each step, one question pounded through her mind, relentless and awful and impossible to ignore. What could possibly be happening in that office that everyone knew about, except her? Elena Wolfe had never been the kind of woman who ignored her instincts. At least, she hadn't been. Once upon a time, in her mid-20s, fresh out of graduate school with a degree in educational psychology, she'd been confident, self-assured, the kind of person who walked into rooms and changed their temperature. She'd known what she wanted. She'd known who she was. Then she'd met Adrian Wolfe at a mutual friend's wedding, and suddenly knowing herself had seemed less important than knowing him. He'd been magnetic that night. Charming in a way that felt effortless, with dark eyes that held hers across the reception hall like they shared a secret. When he asked her to dance, she'd felt like the only woman in the world. When he proposed 11 months later on a beach in Maine, she'd cried so hard she couldn't say yes, could only nod while he slipped the ring on her finger. The early years had been everything love stories promised. Lazy Sunday mornings tangled in sheets, debating whether to order breakfast or make it themselves and always choosing each other instead. Road trips where they got deliberately lost just to find new diners, new vistas, new ways to fall deeper. Nights when his laughter filled their small apartment until the neighbors complained and they laughed even harder. But somewhere between year 5 and year 8, something had shifted. Adrian's architecture firm had taken off, demanding more of his time, more of his energy, more of him. Late nights became routine. Weekend work became expected. And Elena, who'd built her own career as a school counselor, who had her own demanding days filled with troubled teenagers and worried parents, found herself coming home to an empty house more often than not. She'd tried to be understanding. Success required sacrifice. She knew that. She'd watched her own mother sacrifice for her father's career, had seen how it paid off in the end with stability, comfort, security. But her mother had never looked as lonely as Elena felt. Now, sitting in her car in the parking lot of Riverside Middle School where she worked, Elena stared at her phone. 17 missed calls from Adrian. 12 text messages, each one more desperate than the last. Please come home. Let me explain. Elena, please. It's not what you think. I love you. That last one made her laugh, a bitter sound that hurt her throat. Love. What did that word even mean anymore? Her phone buzzed with a new call. Not Adrian this time. Lydia Chen. Elena answered. Hey. Hey yourself. Lydia's voice came through warm and concerned, the voice of someone who'd been Elena's best friend since college, who'd been maid of honor at her wedding, who'd held her hair back during a terrible bout of food poisoning on a girls' trip to Cancun. I just got your text. Are you okay? That's a stupid question. Of course you're not okay. Where are you? School parking lot. Did you go inside yet? No. I can't. I can't face all those kids right now, pretend everything's fine, help them with their problems when I can't even. Elena's voice cracked. I'm coming to get you. Lydia, you have work. And you're more important. I'm leaving now. Don't move. The line went dead. Elena let her head fall back against the headrest, closing her eyes against the morning sun that was too bright, too cheerful, mocking her with its promise of a new day. A tap on her window made her jump. She turned to find Bryson Hayes standing there, concern etched across his features. Bryson worked at the school too, taught English to the 8th graders, had kind eyes and a gentle way of speaking that made even the most troubled students trust him. Elena rolled down the window. Hey. Hey. I saw you sitting out here. You missed first period. He studied her face, and she watched his expression shift from concern to understanding. Bad morning. You could say that. Want to talk about it? Yes, she thought. No, she thought. Maybe, she thought. I think I caught my husband cheating, she heard herself say, and the words hung in the air between them, real now, spoken into existence. Bryson's jaw tightened. You think, or you know? I don't know what I know anymore. He was quiet for a moment, then said, I'm going to tell Principal Morrison you're taking a personal day. Go home. Process. Take care of yourself. I can't go home. He's probably there. Then go somewhere else. but don't sit in this parking lot torturing yourself. You deserve better than that, Elena." The way he said her name, with such careful respect, such genuine concern, made something in her chest ache differently than the betrayal ache. This was the ache of being seen, being cared for, being reminded that kindness still existed. "Thank you," she whispered. "Anytime." He stepped back from the car. "And Elena? Whatever happened this morning? It's not your fault. Remember that." He walked away before she could respond, and Elena sat there wondering when Bryson Hayes had become someone who noticed her, really noticed her, in ways her own husband had stopped doing years ago. By the way, if you're listening and feeling this story already, you might as well subscribe. Don't be shy. Join us. That evening, Elena sat in Lydia's apartment, surrounded by takeout containers and tissue boxes, recounting the morning's events for the third time while Lydia listened with increasing anger. "I told you something was off," Lydia said, pacing the living room with the energy of someone ready to commit violence. "I told you last month when he started that whole working late routine. I told you when he got weird about his phone. I told you." "You told me," Elena interrupted. "And I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to trust him. Trust is earned, babe. Not given blindly." Elena pulled a throw pillow against her chest. "We used to be so good together, Lydia. We used to be the couple everyone envied. Remember our wedding? Remember how he looked at me? People change. But why? What did I do wrong?" Lydia sat down beside her, taking her hand. "Listen to me very carefully. You did nothing wrong. If Adrian couldn't handle being a husband, if he needed something you weren't giving him, he should have talked to you. He should have gone to counseling. He should have done literally anything except whatever the hell he did in that office this morning. I don't even know what he did. Does it matter?" The guilt was written all over his face. The woman ran out like the building was on fire. Everyone in that office knew something was happening. Trust your gut. Elena's phone, which she'd silenced hours ago, lit up on the coffee table. "Adrian. Again. Are you going to answer him at some point?" Lydia asked. "I don't know what to say. How about go to hell?" Despite everything, Elena smiled. "That's why I love you. Someone has to be the angry one while you're being all dignified and gracious." Lydia squeezed her hand. "But seriously, you need to decide what you want. Do you want to hear his explanation? Do you want to work on this? Or are you done? I don't know. We've been together for 8 years. Married for 6. That's not something you just throw away. It's also not something you should fight for alone." Elena nodded, but her mind was already drifting back to this morning. To the way Adrian had looked at her, like he'd been caught doing something unforgivable. To the perfume that wasn't hers. To the woman's flushed face and trembling hands. But also to the words she'd overheard. "You can't keep doing this." "Keep doing what?" And Adrian's response, "I know, but what? What if it wasn't an affair? What if it was something else, something she couldn't imagine yet? What if she was wrong? Or worse, what if she was right?" Elena went home at midnight, long after she knew Adrian would be asleep. Or pretending to be asleep. Either way, she wasn't ready to face him, wasn't ready for the conversation that would either save or end her marriage. The house was dark except for a light in the kitchen. As she stepped inside, she saw evidence of his weight, a cold cup of coffee on the counter, the blanket from their bed draped over the couch where he'd clearly been sitting, her favorite flowers, peonies, in a vase on the dining table with a note that simply said, "I'm sorry." Sorry for what, exactly? Sorry for getting caught? Sorry for whatever he'd been doing with that woman? Sorry for the 8 years of marriage that had somehow led them here? Elena left the flowers where they were and climbed the stairs to their bedroom. Adrian was there, in their bed, lying on his side facing the door. His eyes were open. He'd been waiting. "You came home," he said, his voice rough with exhaustion or emotion or both. I live here. I wasn't sure if you'd. I'm glad you're here. Elena stood in the doorway, maintaining distance like it could protect her. I'm only here because I need clothes and a shower. I'm staying with Lydia. Elena, please. Let me explain. Explain what? Explain why some woman was in your office at 6 in the morning with her shirt undone. Explain why you looked like you'd been caught committing murder. Explain why everyone in your office seemed to know something I didn't. Adrian sat up, running his hands over his face. In the dim light from the hallway, he looked older than his 37 years. Worn. Defeated. It's not what you think. Then what is it? I can't, it's complicated. Elena felt something inside her harden. You know what's complicated, Adrian? Coming home every night to an empty house. Eating dinner alone. Going to bed alone. Waking up alone even when you're lying right next to me. That's complicated. But what I saw this morning, that looked pretty simple. She's not my lover. Then who is she? He hesitated, and that hesitation told Elena everything. Whatever the truth was, he wasn't ready to share it. Maybe he never would be. I need to shower, she said, turning away from him. Elena? Don't. Just don't. She locked herself in the bathroom and stood under scalding water until her skin turned red, trying to wash away the image of that office, that woman, her husband's guilty face. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a towel with her hair dripping, Adrian was gone from the bedroom. She should have felt relieved. Instead, she felt emptier than before. Elena dressed in comfortable clothes, throwing essentials into an overnight bag. As she moved around the room, her eyes caught on Adrian's nightstand. His phone sat there, charging, screen down. She shouldn't. She knew she shouldn't. Looking through someone's phone was a violation of privacy, of trust, of everything a healthy marriage was supposed to be built on. But what trust was left to violate? Before she could overthink it, Elena grabbed the phone. She knew his passcode, had known it for years because they'd never had secrets. Or so she'd thought. The phone unlocked. She navigated to his messages, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. Most of the recent texts were to her. Unanswered. Desperate. But there, beneath those, was a name she didn't recognize, Dr. Sarah Vance. Elena opened the thread. The messages were sparse, professional. Appointment confirmations. Brief check-ins. Nothing romantic. Nothing inappropriate. But then she saw it, buried in a conversation from 3 weeks ago. Adrian, I think she wants to leave me. I think I'm losing her. Dr. Sarah Vance, these are the kinds of fears we need to explore in our next session. Tuesday at 6. Adrian, yes. Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without these sessions. Sessions. Therapy sessions. Elena's hands trembled as she scrolled further, finding more fragments of conversations that painted a picture she hadn't expected. Adrian hadn't been having an affair. He'd been seeing a therapist. Secretly. But why secretly? And who was the woman from this morning? She scrolled further, and then she found it. An email attachment forwarded to his personal phone. She opened it, and her breath caught. It was a document. A legal document. Draft separation agreement. The words blurred as Elena tried to process what she was seeing. Adrian had been preparing for a divorce. He'd hired a therapist not to work on their marriage, but to prepare himself for its end. While she'd been trying to save them with packed lunches and love notes, he'd been planning his exit strategy. The phone slipped from her fingers, clattering onto the nightstand. She heard footsteps on the stairs. Adrian appeared in the doorway, and his eyes went immediately to the phone, to her face. An understanding dawned. You looked through my phone, he said, not accusing, just tired. You're planning to divorce me? Elena? You've been seeing a therapist to prepare for it. While I've been trying to fix us, you've been ready to throw us away. It's not like that. Then what is it like, Adrian? Make me understand. He stepped into the room, and for the first time since this morning, Elena didn't step back. She was too angry, too hurt, too done with running. I thought you wanted out, he said quietly. I thought you'd fallen out of love with me. The way you look at me sometimes, like you're disappointed. Like I'm not enough. I thought if I prepared myself, if I had a plan, it would hurt less when you finally left. Elena stared at him, genuinely confused. When I finally left? Adrian, I've been trying to hold us together. I've been the one fighting for this marriage. By pulling away? By spending all your time at work or with Lydia? By looking at me like I'm a stranger? Because you are a stranger. You're never home. You're always working. And when you are here, you're on your phone or your laptop or anywhere but present with me. They stood there, 3 feet apart, both breathing hard, both realizing the same terrible truth at the same time. They'd been running from each other while thinking the other person was the one leaving. Before we go on, quick question. Are you subscribed? If not, go ahead and fix that for me. I promise, I'll keep the stories coming. The woman from this morning, Elena said, her voice shaking. If she's not your lover, who is she? Adrian's face twisted with something that looked like shame. A colleague. Someone from the legal department. Why was she in your office at 6 a.m. with her shirt messed up? Because she was threatening me. He laughed bitterly. She wants a promotion I told the partners she's not ready for. She's been implying things. Suggesting that if I don't recommend her, she'll claim I've been inappropriate with her. This morning, she cornered me early, before anyone else arrived, to make her final pitch. Or threat, really. When you walked in, she realized she could use it. Make it look like something it wasn't. Elena felt the ground shift beneath her. You're being blackmailed. I was. But after this morning, after she saw your face, I think she realized she went too far. I got an email from her an hour ago. She's withdrawing her complaint. Probably scared you'll tell someone what you saw. Why didn't you tell me any of this? Because I was handling it. Because I didn't want to burden you. Because, he broke off, looking away. Because I thought you were already looking for reasons to leave, and I didn't want to give you another one. Elena's anger cracked, revealing the grief beneath. I wasn't looking for reasons to leave, Adrian. I was looking for reasons to stay. And you kept hiding from me. I know. God, I know. I've been so stupid. We both have been. They stood in silence, the weight of months, maybe years, of miscommunication hanging between them. Elena thought about the separation agreement, about the therapist he'd been seeing alone, about all the nights she'd cried into her pillow thinking she was losing him when he'd been right there, thinking the exact same thing. But there was something else. Something she needed to acknowledge even though it felt like a betrayal to even think it. There's someone at my school, she said quietly. A teacher. Bryson. He's been kind to me. When I was in the parking lot this morning, falling apart, he was there. And he noticed me in a way you haven't in a long time. Adrian's face went pale. Are you having an affair? No. God, no. But I'd be lying if I said I hadn't thought about what it would be like. To be with someone who sees me. Who makes me feel like I matter. The confession hung between them, honest and awful and necessary. Do you have feelings for him? Adrian asked, his voice barely a whisper. Elena thought about Bryson's kind eyes, his gentle words, the way her heart had responded to his attention. I don't know. Maybe. But I have feelings for you too. Or I did. Or I do. I don't know anything anymore except that we're broken, Adrian. We're so broken. Do you want to fix it? That was the question, wasn't it? The only question that mattered. Did she want to fix it? Could it even be fixed? The next 2 weeks existed in a strange limbo. Elena stayed with Lydia, though she went home twice to collect more clothes and pretend she wasn't memorizing the way Adrian looked, sitting at their dining table alone, eating takeout from containers meant for two. They texted. Brief, careful messages about logistics and bills and the mortgage. Nothing real. Nothing that touched the wounds they'd opened that night in their bedroom. Elena threw herself into work, counseling students through their crises while her own life crumbled. The irony wasn't lost on her. She advised a sophomore named Destiny about communication in relationships while she and her own husband communicated through polite, distant text messages about whose turn it was to pay the electric bill. Bryson noticed, of course. He always noticed. "You look tired," he said one afternoon, catching her in the teacher's lounge during her lunch break. "More tired than usual." Elena attempted a smile. "I'm fine." "Elena." He said her name like a gentle challenge. "I've known you for 3 years. You're not fine." She set down her barely touched sandwich. "My husband thinks I want to divorce him. I thought he was cheating on me. Turns out we've both been preparing for an ending that neither of us actually wants. So no, Bryson, I'm not fine. But I don't know how to be anything else right now." He sat down across from her, and the kindness in his eyes nearly broke her. "Have you talked to him?" "Really talked?" "We tried. Everything's so tangled. And I said something I shouldn't have." "What did you say?" Elena met his gaze. "I told him about you. Not that anything's happened, because it hasn't. But I told him that you've made me feel seen in a way he hasn't." Bryson was quiet for a long moment. "What did he say?" "He asked if I had feelings for you." "What did you tell him?" "The truth." "That I don't know." Bryson leaned back in his chair, and Elena watched emotions flicker across his face. Concern. Hope. Guilt. Understanding. "I need to tell you something," he said finally. "And I need you to really hear me. You're a beautiful person, Elena. Inside and out. You're compassionate and strong, and you light up a room without even trying. And yes, I've noticed you. I'd be lying if I said I hadn't thought about what it might be like if circumstances were different." Elena's heart stuttered. "But," Bryson continued, "you're married to someone you love, even if you're both too hurt and scared to remember how to show it. And I won't be the reason your marriage ends. I won't be the easy way out of something hard. You need to figure out what you want, and you need to figure it out with him, not with me as some kind of escape route. What if what I want is impossible?" Elena whispered. "Then at least you'll know. At least you'll have tried." He stood up, squeezing her shoulder gently before walking away, and Elena sat there in the empty teacher's lounge, realizing that Bryson Hayes was a better man than she'd given him credit for. And maybe that made everything worse, because having an honorable man care about her only highlighted how dishonorable she'd been in her own thoughts, in her own heart. That night, Elena received a call from an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Is this Elena Wolfe?" A woman's voice, professional, unfamiliar. "Yes." "Who's this?" "My name is Dr. Sarah Vance. I'm a therapist, and I've been working with your husband." Elena sat up straighter on Lydia's couch. "I know. I saw your messages on his phone." "I know you did. Adrian told me. And I'm calling because I think it would be beneficial if you joined us for a session. If you're willing." "Did Adrian ask you to call me?" "No. He doesn't know I'm calling. This is me, as someone who's watched a man torture himself over his marriage for 3 months, reaching out to the other half of that equation. You don't have to come. But I think it might help." Elena thought about Adrian, sitting in some therapist's office, unpacking his fears and insecurities with a stranger because he couldn't talk to his wife. She thought about the separation agreement, about months of misunderstanding, about 2 people who loved each other but had forgotten how to show it. "When?" she asked. "Thursday at 6. I'll text you the address." The call ended, and Elena sat there, phone in hand, wondering if she was making a mistake or finally doing something right. Lydia emerged from her bedroom, took one look at Elena's face, and said, "What happened?" "His therapist called. She wants me to come to a session." "Are you going to go?" "I think so. Maybe. I don't know." Elena looked up at her best friend. "Lydia, what if we can't fix this? What if we're too broken?" Lydia sat beside her, pulling her into a hug. "Then at least you'll know you tried. But babe, from everything you've told me, you're not broken. You're just two people who forgot how to talk to each other. That's fixable. If you both want to fix it." "I don't know if he does. Only one way to find out." Thursday arrived too quickly and not quickly enough. Elena sat in her car outside Dr. Sarah Vance's office, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to convince herself to go inside. Adrian's car was already there. She recognized it immediately, the black sedan they'd bought together 4 years ago after his firm landed a major client. They'd celebrated that night, drunk expensive wine, made love like they were newlyweds again. When had that stopped? When had everything good between them stopped? Her phone buzzed. "Lydia, you've got this. Be honest. Be brave. I love you." Elena took a deep breath and stepped out of the car. The office was small, comfortable, decorated in soothing blues and greys. A receptionist smiled at her. "Elena Wolfe." "Yes. Dr. Vance is expecting you." "Right through that door." Elena's hand trembled as she reached for the handle. On the other side of this door was her husband and a stranger, and a conversation that could either save or destroy everything. She opened the door. Adrian sat on a couch, his hands clasped between his knees, looking more vulnerable than she'd ever seen him. When he saw her, something in his expression cracked open. Relief. Fear. Hope. Dr. Sarah Vance stood to greet her, and Elena realized with a jolt that this was the woman from Adrian's office. The one she'd thought was his lover. She was older than Elena had registered that chaotic morning, maybe late 40s, with sharp, intelligent eyes and a warm smile. "Thank you for coming," Dr. Vance said. "Please, sit." Elena sat on the opposite end of the couch from Adrian, maintaining distance, maintaining control. "I'm going to be direct," Dr. Vance began. "Adrian has been seeing me for 3 months, working through some significant anxiety about his marriage. When you walked into his office that morning, you misinterpreted a difficult conversation we were having about his fear of losing you. I should have been more professional about where and when we met, but Adrian was in crisis, and I made a judgment call. I apologize for the position that put you in." Elena looked at Adrian, who couldn't meet her eyes. "Why didn't you just tell me you were seeing a therapist?" "Because I was ashamed," he said quietly. "Because admitting I needed help felt like admitting I was failing. At my marriage, at being a husband, at everything. And the separation agreement." His head snapped up. "You saw that?" "I saw everything. I wasn't planning to file it. I needed to know I'd survive if you left. I needed to feel like I had some control over something." Dr. Vance leaned forward slightly. "What I'm hearing from both of you is fear. Adrian, you've been afraid Elena was going to leave, so you prepared for that eventuality. Elena, you've been afraid Adrian had already left emotionally, so you started pulling away to protect yourself. You've been in a cycle of mutual retreat, each of you responding to what you perceived as the other person's withdrawal. But how do we stop?" Elena asked, her voice breaking. "How do we stop being afraid? You talk. You tell each other the truth, even when it's terrifying. You stop making assumptions and start asking questions. And hey, while you're here, if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love to have you as part of the family. Go on. I'll wait." Elena turned to Adrian. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Anything. Do you still love me? Not the idea of me, not the woman you married 8 years ago, but me. The person I am right now. Adrian was quiet for so long that Elena's heart began to sink. But then he spoke, his voice thick with emotion. I love you more than I did 8 years ago. You've grown into this incredible woman, strong and compassionate and so good at helping everyone around you. But somewhere along the way, I convinced myself I wasn't good enough for who you'd become. That you'd wake up one day and realize you'd outgrown me. So I started pulling away first, because watching you leave would have destroyed me. Tears streamed down Elena's face. I never outgrew you, Adrian. I just felt like I was losing you to your work, to your stress, to whatever was consuming you. I felt like I was standing on a shore watching you drift further and further away, and I didn't know how to reach you anymore. I'm right here, he whispered. I've been right here the whole time. So have I. They stared at each other across the couch, two people who'd traveled so far apart while standing in the same room, and Elena felt something shift. Not a resolution, not a healing, but a beginning. The first small crack in the wall they'd built between them. Dr. Vance smiled gently. This is good. This is a start. But I need to tell you both something important. One conversation doesn't fix months of damage. You're going to have to choose each other every day, sometimes multiple times a day. You're going to have to be vulnerable even when it's terrifying. You're going to have to trust even when trusting feels impossible. Can you do that? Elena looked at Adrian. Adrian looked at Elena. I want to try, she said. So do I, he replied. Then let's start there, Dr. Vance said. Let's start with trying. But even as Elena felt hope kindle in her chest, even as she saw that same hope reflected in Adrian's eyes, a small voice whispered in the back of her mind, what about Bryson? What about the feeling she'd almost admitted to? What about the fact that someone else had made her feel alive in a way her own husband hadn't? Could she really choose Adrian when part of her heart was curious about what choosing someone else might feel like? She pushed the thought away, but it lingered, a shadow over the fragile hope beginning to bloom. Outside the office, as they walked to their separate cars, Adrian caught her hand. Can we have dinner? He asked. Not at home. Somewhere neutral. Somewhere we can just talk. Really talk. Elena squeezed his hand, feeling the familiar warmth of his palm against hers. Tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. I'll pick you up from Lydia's at 7. Okay. They stood there in the parking lot, still holding hands, neither wanting to be the first to let go. Finally, Elena pulled away gently, offering him a small smile before climbing into her car. As she drove back to Lydia's apartment, her phone buzzed with a text from Bryson, hope you're doing okay. Thinking of you. Elena stared at the message for a long moment before turning off her phone without responding. Tomorrow she'd have dinner with her husband. Tomorrow they'd try to find their way back to each other. But tonight she'd sit with the uncomfortable truth that her heart was more divided than she'd admitted. The restaurant Adrian chose was a small Italian place tucked into a corner of downtown, the kind with checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles and the smell of garlic and basil heavy in the air. It was where he'd taken her on their third date, where he'd first told her he was falling in love with her. Elena arrived 5 minutes early and found him already there, sitting at a corner table, his hands fidgeting with a napkin. He stood when he saw her, and for a moment they both just looked at each other, taking inventory of the changes wrought by weeks of pain and distance. You look beautiful, he said. Elena had chosen her outfit carefully, a simple navy dress that Adrian had always loved, her hair down the way he preferred. She'd told herself it wasn't manipulation, just effort. The kind of effort marriages required. Thank you. You look good too. They sat, and an awkward silence descended. How strange, Elena thought, to feel nervous around someone she'd shared a life with for 8 years. To search for conversation topics with someone who'd once been her best friend. I've been thinking, Adrian started, then stopped. Started again. About us. About everything that's happened. And I realized something. We stopped dating each other. Elena tilted her head. What do you mean? We got married and we stopped trying. We stopped doing things like this. He gestured around the restaurant. We stopped surprising each other. We stopped asking about each other's days and actually listening to the answers. We became roommates who shared a mortgage instead of partners who shared a life. The truth of it stung. When did that happen? I don't know. Gradually. I got consumed by work. You got consumed by work. We fell into routines and forgot that routines need to be broken sometimes. The waiter arrived, interrupting them to take drink orders. Elena asked for wine. Adrian did the same. When they were alone again, Elena leaned forward. I want to ask you something, and I need complete honesty. Always. That woman from your office. The one who was blackmailing you. What exactly did she want? Adrian's jaw tightened. She wanted me to recommend her for senior director. She's been with the firm for 2 years, thinks she deserves it. But she's not ready. She cuts corners, blames others for her mistakes, doesn't take feedback well. I told the partners she needed more time, more mentoring. She didn't take it well. So she threatened you with a harassment claim. She started showing up at odd hours, making suggestive comments in front of others, then acting innocent, creating situations that could be misinterpreted. That morning you saw us, she'd cornered me before anyone else arrived, told me if I didn't change my recommendation, she'd tell HR I'd been making advances. The irony is, your walking in probably saved me. Enough people know you now that her story would fall apart. Elena processed this, anger building on his behalf. Did you report her? I did. After you left that morning, I went straight to HR, told them everything, showed them the emails where she'd been pressuring me. She's been put on administrative leave pending an investigation. Why didn't you tell me any of this was happening? Adrian looked down at his hands. Because I was ashamed. Because I'm supposed to be the strong one, the provider, the one who handles things. Admitting someone was threatening me, using my position against me, felt like admitting weakness. Adrian. Elena reached across the table, covering his hand with hers. That's not weakness. That's being human. His eyes glistened. I was also afraid you'd think I'd done something to encourage it. That maybe I'd been inappropriate without realizing it. That maybe she had a point. Did you? No. God, no. I've never looked at anyone the way I look at you, Elena. Even when things got hard between us, even when I thought I was losing you, there's never been anyone else. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. There's never been anyone else for me either. The lie slipped out before she could catch it. Because there hadn't been anyone else, not physically, not even emotionally, not really. But there had been Bryson. There had been moments of wondering, of curiosity, of a different kind of attention that had felt like sunlight after months of shadow. Before we dive deeper, if you're new here, hi love. I'm glad you made it. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss stories that touch the heart. Their food arrived, and they ate slowly, conversation flowing easier now. They talked about work, about Lydia's latest dating disaster, about a movie they both wanted to see. Safe topics. Bridge-building topics. But beneath it all, Elena felt the weight of things unsaid. Finally, over dessert, Adrian set down his fork and looked at her directly. The teacher you mentioned. Bryson. Are you in love with him? Elena's heart stuttered. No. But you could be. If you let yourself. She wanted to lie. The lie would be kinder, easier, safer. But Dr. Vance's words echoed in her mind, you tell each other the truth, even when it's terrifying. Maybe, she whispered. He's kind. He sees me. He makes me feel like I matter. And for a while, when I thought I was losing you, the idea of him felt like a life raft. Adrian flinched but didn't look away. Do you want to pursue it? Him? I don't know what I want. That's the honest answer. I want us to work. I want to remember why we fell in love. But I'm also scared that even if we try, Even if we do everything right, we've gone too far. That we've hurt each other too much. We have hurt each other, Adrian agreed. But hurt can heal. If we let it. Can it? Can we really come back from this? I don't know. But I want to try. Elena, I want to fight for us. I want to date you again, romance you again, remember how to be the man who makes you laugh instead of the man who makes you cry. Will you let me try? Elena looked at her husband, really looked at him. At the man who'd proposed on a beach in Maine, who'd held her hand through her father's funeral, who'd built her a reading nook in their house because he knew she loved curling up with books on rainy days. The man who'd gotten lost in his fear and pride but who was sitting here now, vulnerable and honest and trying. Yes, she said. I'll let you try. And I'll try too. They left the restaurant holding hands, and Adrian walked her to her car. Under the streetlight, he pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. I've missed you, he whispered. I've missed you too. He kissed her then, gentle and tentative, and Elena felt something in her chest unfurl. Not complete healing. Not absolution. But possibility. The chance that maybe, just maybe, they could find their way back. She drove to Lydia's apartment with her heart lighter than it had been in weeks. When she walked in, Lydia was waiting on the couch, wine glass in hand, eyebrows raised. So? Lydia demanded. How'd it go? Good. Really good. We talked. Really talked. And Lydia, I think we might be able to fix this. Lydia smiled, genuine and warm. I'm happy for you, babe. I really am. But something in her friend's expression made Elena pause. What? Nothing. Just make sure you're fixing it for the right reasons. Not because it's easier than starting over. Not because you're scared of being alone. But because you genuinely want him, want that life, want that marriage. I do want it. Then I'm behind you 100%. Elena went to bed that night feeling something she hadn't felt in months, hope. Real, tangible hope that her marriage wasn't over, that love could survive even devastating miscommunication and fear. But at 3 a.m, she woke from a dream about Bryson. In the dream, he'd been reading poetry to a classroom of students, his voice rich and warm, and when he'd looked up and seen her in the doorway, his smile had been just for her. She'd felt it in the dream, that pull, that possibility of something different, something new, something uncomplicated by years of hurt and habit. She lay awake in Lydia's guest room, staring at the ceiling, wondering if choosing Adrian meant she was choosing safety over passion. Obligation over desire. The known over the unknown. And she wondered if that made her brave or cowardly. The next week passed in a strange rhythm. Adrian texted her every morning with sweet messages, the kind he used to send when they were dating. He suggested lunch dates, coffee meetings, evening walks. He was trying, genuinely trying, and Elena found herself softening toward him in ways she'd thought impossible just weeks ago. But Bryson was still there, a constant presence at work, his kindness unchanged, his attention unwavering. He never pushed, never asked about her marriage, but she felt his awareness, his curiosity, his care. On Wednesday, she found a note in her school mailbox. Bryson's handwriting, neat and careful, saw this poem and thought of you. The poem was by Mary Oliver, about wild geese and belonging and not having to be good. Elena read it 3 times, tears streaming down her face, because it felt like someone had reached into her chest and put words to every confused, contradictory feeling she'd been carrying. That afternoon, she knocked on Bryson's classroom door during his planning period. Can we talk? She asked. He gestured to the chair beside his desk. Always. Elena sat, clutching the poem in her hands. Thank you for this. You're welcome. Did you like it? I loved it. But Bryson, I need to tell you something. Ask you something. I don't know which. He waited, patient as always, and Elena marveled at how some people could make silence feel safe instead of threatening. My husband and I are trying to fix our marriage, she said. We're going to therapy together, we're dating again, we're doing all the things we're supposed to do. And it's good. It's really good. But I keep thinking about you. About this. She gestured between them. About what it might be like if circumstances were different. Bryson was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle but firm. Elena, I care about you. More than I probably should. And yes, if you were single, if we met under different circumstances, I'd ask you out in a heartbeat. But you're not single. You're married to someone you love, someone who's fighting for you. And I won't be the distraction that keeps you from figuring out what you really want. What if what I really want is complicated? Then you need to uncomplicate it. You need to decide, do you want your marriage, or do you want out of your marriage? Because staying while keeping one foot out the door isn't fair to anyone. Not to Adrian, not to me, and not to yourself. His words landed like a challenge, and Elena felt something shift. He was right. She'd been hedging her bets, keeping Bryson in her peripheral vision as a safety net in case things with Adrian didn't work out. And that wasn't fair. It wasn't brave. It wasn't the kind of person she wanted to be. You're right, she said quietly. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Just be honest with yourself. Figure out what you want. And then choose it, fully, completely, without reservation. Elena nodded, standing to leave. At the door, she turned back. Bryson? Thank you. For being a good man. Always, he said, and she saw in his eyes that he meant it. That night, Elena sat down with her laptop and opened her email. She found the draft separation agreement Adrian had created, the one she'd discovered on his phone. She read through it carefully, seeing for the first time the pain behind every legal clause, every division of assets, every carefully worded provision. This wasn't a man planning to leave. This was a man trying to survive the possibility of being left. She deleted the document. Then she opened a new email to Dr. Vance, requesting a joint session for the following week. In the subject line, she typed, "Ready to fight for us." She hit send and felt something settle in her chest. Not certainty. Not quite yet. But commitment. The decision to stop wondering about what IFS and start building what is. Her phone buzzed. Adrian, thinking about you. Hope you had a good day. Elena smiled and typed back, better now. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. And for the first time in months, she meant it completely. The unraveling started on a Tuesday. Elena had agreed to move back home, to try living with Adrian again while they worked on their marriage. It felt like progress, like a tangible sign that they were committed to healing. She'd said goodbye to Lydia with promises to keep her updated, had packed her clothes back into the suitcases she'd never fully unpacked, had driven to the house that was supposed to feel like sanctuary but instead felt like walking into a museum of who they used to be. Adrian had tried to make it special. There were fresh flowers in every room, her favorite wine chilling in the fridge, dinner already prepared. He'd even cleaned, really cleaned, the kind of deep clean that showed effort and care. Welcome home, he said when she walked in, and his smile was so hopeful it hurt to look at. It's good to be home, she replied, and she tried to mean it. The first few days were careful, polite, like two strangers learning how to share space. They navigated around each other in the kitchen, had quiet dinners where they discussed work and weather and everything except what they were both thinking, is this working? Can we really do this? But on Tuesday, Elena made a mistake. She'd been at school, finishing up paperwork in her office, when Bryson had stopped by with coffee. Just coffee. Nothing inappropriate. They talked about a student they both had concerns about, had strategized about how to help, had laughed over a ridiculous memo from administration. It was innocent. Completely innocent. But when Elena got home that evening, later than usual because the conversation had run long, Adrian was waiting. And on the kitchen counter was her personal laptop, open to her email. Who is he? Adrian asked, his voice tight. Elena's heart dropped. What are you talking about? Bryson. The one who sends you poetry. The one who thinks of you. The one you've been having coffee with when you tell me you're working late. Adrian, it's not. Don't. He held up a hand. Don't tell me it's not what I think. Don't gaslight me. I saw the emails. The texts. The way he talks to you. The way you talk to him. Elena felt anger flare beneath the guilt. You went through my computer. You went through my phone. Because you were being secretive. Because I thought you were cheating. And what do you call this? He gestured at the laptop screen. You told me there was nothing with him. You told me you wanted to work on us. But you've been lying this whole time. I haven't been lying. Nothing has happened with Bryson. We're friends. That's all. Friends don't send each other love poems, Elena. It wasn't a love poem. It was just a poem. He thought I'd appreciate it. And did you? Appreciate it? Elena hesitated, and in that hesitation, Adrian found his answer. Jesus, he breathed, stepping back like she'd hit him. You have feelings for him. I have feelings for you. That's not an answer. Adrian, please. You're twisting this into something it's not. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my wife has been emotionally involved with another man while telling me she wants to save our marriage. It looks like I've been played for a fool. You're not a fool. And I'm not involved with him. I'm here. I came home. I'm trying. Are you? Or are you just hedging your bets? Keeping him in reserve in case I'm not good enough? The accusation hung between them, ugly and painful and too close to a truth Elena didn't want to examine. That's not fair, she whispered. None of this is fair. Adrian's voice cracked. I've been killing myself trying to be better, trying to fix what we broke, trying to prove I'm worth fighting for. And the whole time, you've been what? Keeping your options open. No. God, no. Adrian, I chose you. I chose us. Did you? Because it doesn't feel like it. It feels like you chose the path of least resistance. The familiar. The safe. But your heart? Your heart is somewhere else. Tears streamed down Elena's face. My heart is right here. In this house. In this marriage. Then prove it. He grabbed his keys from the counter. Cut him off. Completely. No more coffee. No more poems. No more anything. If you want this marriage, if you want me, then choose me. Fully. Not halfway. Where are you going? I need space. I need to think. I need to figure out if I can trust you anymore. He left, the door closing behind him with a quiet click that felt louder than any slam. Elena stood in the kitchen, surrounded by his efforts to welcome her home, feeling like the worst person in the world. Because he was right. She had been keeping Bryson in reserve. She had been emotionally unfaithful, even if nothing physical had happened. She had been trying to have it both ways. And now she was losing both. She called Lydia, sobbing so hard she could barely speak. Lydia came over immediately, held her while she cried, listened while she confessed everything. What do I do? Elena asked when the tears finally stopped. How do I fix this? I don't know if you can, babe, Lydia said gently. You hurt him. Deeply. And trust, once broken, is really hard to rebuild. But I didn't cheat. I didn't do anything wrong. Didn't you though? Emotional affairs are still affairs, Elena. And you knew what you were doing with Bryson, even if you told yourself it was innocent. You knew. The truth of it settled over Elena like a weight. She had known. Every time Bryson smiled at her, every time she felt that flutter of excitement, every time she let herself imagine what if, she had known she was betraying Adrian. I'm a terrible person, she whispered. You're a human person. You made mistakes. But the question now is, what are you going to do about it? If you're watching this and haven't subscribed yet, oh, don't break my heart like that. Tap the button. Let's keep growing together. Adrian didn't come home that night. Or the next. When Elena texted him, he responded with brief, cold messages, "I'm fine." At a hotel. Need time. At work, Elena avoided Bryson. She took different routes through the building, ate lunch in her office with the door closed, left immediately when the final bell rang. She couldn't face him, couldn't explain what had happened without admitting her own culpability. But on Friday, he found her anyway. "Elena." His voice in her doorway made her jump. "We need to talk." "I can't." "I'm sorry. I just can't." 5 minutes. "Please." She looked up at him, at his concerned face, at the kindness that had drawn her in, and felt a surge of resentment. This was his fault too. He'd known she was married. He'd known she was vulnerable. He'd inserted himself into her life anyway. But that wasn't fair, and she knew it. He'd been a friend. She was the one who'd turned it into something else in her head. 5 minutes, she agreed. He closed the door and sat down. "Your husband found the emails." "How did you?" "You're avoiding me." "You look devastated." It wasn't hard to piece together. He leaned forward. "Elena, I'm sorry. I never meant to cause problems in your marriage." "I know. It's not your fault. It's mine. I let things get confused. I let my feelings get confused. For what it's worth, I think you're making the right choice. Fighting for your marriage. Adrian's a lucky man. He doesn't feel lucky right now. He feels betrayed. And he's right to feel that way." Bryson was quiet for a moment. "I'm going to make this easier for you. I've accepted a position at another school. I'll be leaving at the end of the semester." Elena's head snapped up. "What? Why?" "Because you need space to figure out your life, and I need space to figure out mine. Because every time you look at me, you're going to feel guilty, and I don't want to be the source of your pain." "And honestly?" "Because I need to stop hoping for something that's never going to happen." Bryson. "It's okay, Elena. Really. I'll be fine. You'll be fine. This is the right thing." He stood to leave, and Elena felt tears prick her eyes again. "I'm sorry. For everything. Don't be. You reminded me what it feels like to care about someone. That's a gift, even if it didn't work out the way I'd hoped." He left, and Elena sat in her office feeling like she'd lost something important, even though she knew letting him go was the only right choice. That weekend, Elena received a text from Adrian, "Can you come to the hotel? Room for 12. We need to talk." She drove there with her heart in her throat, not knowing if she was about to fight for her marriage or sign the papers that would end it. Adrian answered the door looking exhausted. His hair was disheveled, his eyes red-rimmed, his clothes wrinkled. He'd been crying, she realized. Her strong, stoic husband had been crying. "Come in," he said. The hotel room was generic, impersonal, nothing like the home they'd built together. Elena sat on the edge of the bed while Adrian paced. "I've been thinking," he started. "About us. About everything. And I realized something. We're both responsible for what happened. I pulled away first. I stopped trying. I made you feel invisible. And when someone else saw you, really saw you, you responded to that attention. I get it. I do. Adrian. Let me finish. Please." He stopped pacing and looked at her. "But here's the thing. I can't do this halfway. I can't be in a marriage where you're always wondering about someone else. Where I'm always second-guessing whether you really want me or whether I'm just the safer option. I deserve better than that. We both do." Elena's heart sank. "Are you saying you want a divorce?" I'm saying I need you to make a choice. A real choice. Not a scared choice. Not a practical choice. But a choice from your heart. Do you want me? Do you want this marriage? Do you want to build a life together, even knowing it's going to be hard, even knowing we're going to have to work at it every single day? Yes, Elena said without hesitation. Yes, I want you. I want us. Even if it means letting go of the fantasy of what it might be like with someone else. It was never really about him, Adrian. It was about feeling seen. Feeling wanted. Feeling like I mattered. But I can have that with you. I know I can. We just forgot how to give it to each other. Can you forgive me for making you feel invisible? Can you forgive me for turning to someone else instead of fighting harder for us? Adrian sat beside her on the bed, and they looked at each other, both broken, both scared, both hoping. I forgive you, he said. I forgive you too. He pulled an envelope from his pocket and handed it to her. I want you to read this. Elena opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a letter, written in Adrian's careful handwriting. She read, Elena, I've written this letter a dozen times and torn it up a dozen times because I couldn't find the right words. But maybe there are no right words for what I need to say. I'm scared. Terrified, actually. Scared that I've lost you. Scared that even if we try to fix this, we'll just be putting a band-aid on something that needs surgery. Scared that you'll wake up one day and realize you settled. But I'm more scared of not trying. Of letting fear and pride and hurt destroy the best thing that ever happened to me. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. So here's what I'm proposing, let's start over. Not forget the past, but release it. Let's date again, like we did in the beginning, but with the wisdom of knowing how easy it is to lose something precious. Let's go to therapy together. Let's fight for this. Let's choose each other every day, even on the days when it's hard. But I need to know you're all in. I need to know that when you say you choose me, you mean it with your whole heart. Can you do that? Can you choose me? All my love? Adrian. Elena read the letter twice, tears streaming down her face, and when she looked up at Adrian, she saw her own hope reflected in his eyes. I choose you, she said. All in. No reservations. I choose you. He pulled her into his arms, and they held each other while they cried, while they grieved for what they'd almost lost, while they hoped for what they might still save. But as they sat there, wrapped in each other's arms, a knock sounded at the door. Adrian pulled away, frowning. I'm not expecting anyone. He opened the door, and Elena's blood ran cold. Standing in the hallway was the woman from his office. The one who'd been blackmailing him. The one Elena had seen that awful morning. And she was smiling. Hello, Adrian, she said. We need to talk. Adrian's entire body went rigid. What are you doing here? You're on administrative leave. You're not supposed to contact me. The woman, whose name Elena finally learned was Jessica Reeves, laughed. It wasn't a pleasant sound. Administrative leave doesn't mean house arrest, Adrian. Or hotel arrest, in this case. How did you even know I was here? I have my ways. Jessica's eyes slid to Elena, and her smile turned predatory. Mrs. Wolfe. How lovely to see you again. Though under less shocking circumstances. Elena stood, moving beside Adrian. What do you want? What I've always wanted. Fairness. Recognition. The promotion I've earned. You didn't earn anything, Adrian said, his voice hard. And your tactics have proven exactly why you're not ready for leadership. Now leave before I call security. Oh, I don't think you want to do that. Jessica pulled out her phone, tapping the screen a few times before turning it toward them. You see, I've been documenting our interactions. Very carefully. Very thoroughly. And I have recordings that, taken out of context, could be quite damaging to your reputation. Elena felt Adrian tense beside her. You recorded me without consent? That's illegal in this state. Is it? How unfortunate. I guess we'll let the lawyers sort that out. Or. Jessica's smile widened. You could do the smart thing. Write a glowing recommendation. Tell the partners I'm ready for senior director. Make this all go away. That's blackmail, Elena said, her voice shaking with anger. You can't seriously think you'll get away with this. I think your husband values his career too much to risk it. I think he'll do what's smart. Adrian took a step forward, and for a moment Elena worried about what he might do. But instead, he pulled out his own phone. You're right about one thing, Jessica. I do value my career. But not more than I value my integrity. He pressed a button, and Elena realized he'd been recording. Everything you just said? About the recordings? About blackmailing me for a recommendation? That's all on record now. And I'm sending it to HR and to my lawyer. Jessica's face went pale. You're bluffing. Try me. For a long moment, they stood in a stalemate. Then Jessica's composure cracked. You don't understand. I need this promotion. I have debts. I have pressure. I need. Then earn it legitimately, Adrian interrupted. Do the work. Learn from feedback. Stop taking shortcuts. But this? He gestured between them. This ends now. You're going to leave this hotel, you're going to withdraw any claims against me, and you're going to hope I don't press charges for what you just admitted to. And if I don't, then I will press charges. And I will make sure everyone in the industry knows exactly what kind of person you are. Your career won't just stall. It'll be over. Jessica looked between Adrian and Elena, seemed to realize she'd lost, and her face twisted with frustration. This isn't over. Yes, Adrian said quietly. It is. She turned and stalked down the hallway, her heels clicking angrily against the carpet. Adrian closed the door and leaned against it, exhaling shakily. Did that really just happen? Elena asked. I think so. He looked at his phone, at the recording still running, and stopped it. I need to send this to my lawyer. Adrian. Elena grabbed his arm. That was incredibly brave. Or incredibly stupid. We'll see which when HR gets involved. No. It was brave. You stood up to her. You protected yourself. You protected us. He pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. I'm done being afraid, Elena. Done letting other people's dysfunction dictate my life. Done being a victim. Me too, she whispered. I'm done too. They spent the rest of the weekend in that hotel room, talking more honestly than they had in years. Adrian told her about the pressure at work, about feeling inadequate, about the panic attacks he'd been having that he'd hidden from her. Elena told him about her own struggles, about feeling trapped between duty and desire, about the loneliness that had nearly consumed her. It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't pretty. But it was real. On Sunday evening, as they prepared to leave the hotel and return home together, Adrian's phone rang. His lawyer. Elena watched his face as he listened, saw surprise flicker across his features. When he hung up, he looked stunned. What happened? She asked. Jessica withdrew everything. Her harassment claim, her threats, everything. And she resigned from the firm. Why? Apparently someone else came forward. Another colleague she'd been targeting with similar tactics. When HR started digging, they found a pattern. She knew she was finished, so she cut her losses. Elena felt relief wash over her. It's really over. It's really over. They drove home in comfortable silence, hands intertwined across the center console. When they pulled into their driveway, Elena looked at the house and for the first time in months, it felt like sanctuary instead of a museum. Ready? Adrian asked. Ready. That night, they slept in their bed, wrapped in each other's arms, and Elena felt something settle in her chest. Not perfection. Not the absence of problems. But peace. The knowledge that they'd faced the worst and survived it. In the morning, she woke to find Adrian gone from bed but the smell of coffee drifting up the stairs. She padded down to the kitchen to find him cooking breakfast, something he hadn't done in years. "Morning," he said, smiling. "Thought we could eat together before work." "I'd like that." They ate pancakes and talked about nothing important, and it felt revolutionary. At school that day, Elena found a note in her mailbox. "Bryson's handwriting one last time. I heard about your reconciliation. I'm happy for you. Take care of yourself, Elena. You deserve all the love in the world." She folded the note carefully and put it in her desk drawer. Not as a keepsake, but as a reminder. A reminder of how easy it was to lose yourself in someone else's attention when you stopped paying attention to yourself. That afternoon, in her session with Dr. Vance, Elena and Adrian sat side by side, holding hands, ready to do the real work. "So," Dr. Vance said, smiling, "let's talk about where you want to go from here." "Forward," Elena said. "Together," Adrian added. And for the first time in a long time, Elena believed they actually would. 3 months later, Elena stood in the kitchen of their home, preparing dinner and humming along to music playing from her phone. Outside, rain pattered against the windows, the kind of gentle spring rain that washed everything clean. Adrian was due home any minute from work, and for once, she wasn't dreading his arrival or resenting his lateness. She was simply looking forward to seeing him. Therapy had been transformative. Not in a magical, overnight way, but in the slow, steady way that real healing required. They'd learned to communicate without assuming, to ask questions instead of making accusations, to be vulnerable without weaponizing that vulnerability against each other. They'd also learned their patterns. How Adrian withdrew under stress, and how that withdrawal triggered Elena's abandonment fears. How Elena's silence when she was hurt made Adrian feel like a failure. How they'd been locked in a dance of mutual rejection without realizing it. But most importantly, they'd learned to fight fair. To disagree without destroying. To have hard conversations without running away. The front door opened. "Something smells amazing," Adrian called out. "Chicken marsala," Elena called back. "And before you ask, yes, I made extra so you can have leftovers tomorrow." He appeared in the kitchen doorway, loosening his tie, and the sight of him still made her heart skip a little. That, she'd learned, was a good sign. "How was your day?" he asked, kissing her cheek before washing his hands. "Good. Tiring. We had an incident with a student bringing a knife to school, so that was fun to navigate. Is everyone okay?" "Yeah. The student's dealing with some stuff at home, so we're getting him connected with resources." "How was yours?" "Busy. The Henderson project is finally moving forward, which means late nights for the next few weeks." He paused, turning to face her. "But I'll be home for dinner. Every night. I promise." "I know you will." And she did know. Because he'd proven it day after day, choosing to prioritize their marriage over his work in ways he hadn't before. They ate dinner together, talking about everything and nothing, and after they cleaned up, Adrian pulled her onto the couch. "I want to show you something," he said, pulling out his phone. "If this is another renovation idea for the bathroom, I swear. It's not a renovation idea." He pulled up an email. "It's a confirmation. For a trip." Elena looked at the screen. 2 tickets to Maine. To the same beach where he'd proposed 8 years ago. "I thought we could go back," Adrian said softly. "Not to recreate the past, but to acknowledge how far we've come. To remember why we started this journey and recommit to finishing it together." Tears pricked Elena's eyes. "When?" "Next month. I cleared it with your principal. You have Friday and Monday off. For days, just us, the ocean, and no distractions." "Adrian Wolfe, are you romancing me?" "Every day for the rest of our lives, if you'll let me." She kissed him, and it felt like coming home and setting off on an adventure all at once. The next day at work, Elena was called to Principal Morrison's office. When she arrived, she found Lydia already there, looking concerned. "Is everything okay?" Elena asked. "Everything's fine," Principal Morrison said, smiling. "Actually, it's better than fine. I wanted to let you both know that I've nominated you, Elena, for the District Counselor of the Year Award. And you, Lydia, for the Teacher Excellence Award." Elena's jaw dropped. "What? Why?" "Because you're both exceptional at what you do. Elena, your intervention with troubled students has been remarkable. Lydia, your innovative teaching methods have transformed your classroom. You both deserve recognition." After they left the office, Lydia grabbed Elena's arm. "Drinks tonight to celebrate." "Can't." "Date night with Adrian." Lydia grinned. "Look at you, all domesticated and happy. It's disgusting." "I love it. How are things with you? Still seeing that guy from the gym?" "Maybe. He's cute but might be too young for me." "We'll see." Lydia's expression turned serious. "But really, how are you? Like, really?" "I'm good. Really good. We still have hard days, but we're learning to navigate them. And I feel like I have my partner back, you know." "What about Bryson? Do you ever think about him?" Elena considered the question honestly. "Sometimes. But not in a what-if way anymore. More in a thank you way. He reminded me that I deserved to be seen, and that pushed me to demand better from my marriage instead of just accepting less. That's healthy. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of us. Of me and Adrian. We could have given up. It would have been easier. But we chose the hard thing, and it's paying off." That night, Elena and Adrian went to the same Italian restaurant where they'd had their reconciliation dinner months ago. But this time, there was no tension, no unspoken accusations hanging in the air. Just two people who loved each other, who'd fought for each other, who'd learned that love wasn't a feeling but a choice you made every day. "I have something for you," Adrian said, pulling out a small box. Elena's heart skipped. "Adrian. It's not what you think. Open it." Inside was a necklace with a small compass pendant. "When we got lost," Adrian said, "we forgot which direction we were heading. This is to remind us. No matter how lost we feel, we can always find our way back to each other." Elena felt tears spill over. "It's perfect." He fastened it around her neck, and she touched the pendant, feeling its weight, its meaning. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too. Always have. Always will." As they walked to their car after dinner, hand in hand, Elena felt a sense of completeness she hadn't experienced in years. Not because everything was perfect, but because they'd learned that perfection wasn't the goal. Partnership was. Showing up was. Fighting for each other was. The following week, Elena received an unexpected email. It was from Bryson, writing from his new school. "Elena, I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to reach out to let you know that I've met someone. Her name is Claire, she teaches science, and she's remarkable. I thought you'd want to know that I'm moving forward, finding my own happiness. Thank you for the role you played in reminding me what it feels like to care deeply. I hope you and Adrian are thriving. Take care. Bryson." Elena smiled as she read it, feeling only warmth and gratitude. She showed the email to Adrian that evening. "How do you feel about that?" he asked carefully. "Happy for him. Relieved, if I'm honest. Knowing he's moved on makes it easier to let go of any lingering guilt. Do you have any regrets? About choosing me?" Elena looked at her husband, at the man who'd fought for their marriage even when it would have been easier to walk away, who showed up every day with intentionality and love. "Not a single one," she said truthfully. But the universe, it seemed, had one more test for them. A week before their trip to Maine, Adrian came home looking troubled. What's wrong? Elena asked immediately. I got offered a position. Senior partner at a firm in Seattle. It's a huge opportunity, career-defining, but it would mean relocating. Elena felt her stomach drop. Seattle? That's across the country. I know. And I told them I'd have to think about it. That I'd have to discuss it with my wife. When do they need an answer? 2 weeks. They sat at the kitchen table, the offer letter between them, and had a conversation that would determine their future. What do you want to do? Elena asked. I want whatever makes us both happy. I want whatever strengthens us instead of dividing us. But what do you want, Adrian? If you could choose anything. He was quiet for a long moment. I want the opportunity. But not at the expense of us. Not after everything we've been through to get here. Elena thought about her own career, her students, her life in this city. She thought about Lydia, about the support system they'd built, about starting over in a strange place. But she also thought about adventure, about growth, about building a new life together somewhere fresh, somewhere that didn't hold memories of their darkest times. Let's do it, she said. Adrian's eyes widened. What? Let's take the job. Let's move to Seattle. Let's start fresh. Elena, I can't ask you to give up everything you've built here. You're not asking. I'm choosing. I'm choosing us, choosing adventure, choosing to trust that wherever we go, we'll be okay as long as we're together. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. He pulled her into his arms, and they held each other, both excited and terrified about the journey ahead. Settle in, get comfortable, and if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. You're safe here. The trip to Maine was everything they needed. They walked the same beach where Adrian had proposed, but this time, instead of looking back at who they'd been, they talked about who they were becoming. On the last night, they sat on the sand watching the sunset, wrapped in a blanket against the cool ocean breeze. Do you remember what you said when I proposed? Adrian asked. I couldn't say anything. I just cried. But eventually you said yes. And I asked you why. Why me? Why this? Elena smiled at the memory. I said because you made me feel like the best version of myself. Because you saw all of me, the good and the messy and the broken, and you loved it all. Do you still feel that way? More than ever. But now I also see all of you. And I love it all too. Even the broken parts. Especially the broken parts, because we fixed them together. Adrian turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. Elena Wolfe, will you marry me again? She laughed through tears. We're already married. I know. But I want to choose you again. Publicly. Intentionally. Will you renew our vows with me? Yes. 1,000 times yes. They renewed their vows 2 months later, before the move to Seattle, in a small ceremony with just their closest friends and family. Lydia was Elena's maid of honor again, crying harder than the bride. Elena's colleagues from school came, and even Principal Morrison attended, bringing a generous gift. Bryson sent flowers with a note, "Congratulations on your new beginning." As Elena stood at the altar, looking into Adrian's eyes while they recited new vows, promises built on experience and hard-won wisdom, she felt overwhelming gratitude. Not for perfection, but for perseverance. Not for ease, but for effort. Not for a love story without pain, but for a love story that survived it. I promise to choose you, Elena said, even on the days when choosing is hard. I promise to see you, to hear you, to fight for us. I promise to never stop trying. I promise to show up, Adrian responded. To be present, to be vulnerable, to be worthy of your choice. I promise to love you fiercely, honestly, completely. Every single day. When they kissed, their friends and family erupted in applause, and Elena thought about how far they'd come. From that awful morning in his office, from the betrayal and hurt and fear, to this moment of renewal and hope. They moved to Seattle 3 weeks later, starting their adventure together. It wasn't always easy. They had to build new support systems, navigate a new city, adjust to new jobs. But they did it together, learning that marriage wasn't about finding the perfect person but about choosing to grow with an imperfect person every single day. And on the days when it was hard, when they fought or misunderstood each other or fell back into old patterns, they remembered what they'd almost lost. They remembered the work it took to save their marriage. And they chose, again and again, to do that work. Because love, they'd learned, wasn't the absence of struggle. It was the presence of choice. The choice to stay, to fight, to forgive, to grow. And every day, they chose each other. 6 months into their Seattle adventure, Elena stood in the kitchen of their new apartment, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked Puget Sound. The view still took her breath away every morning, this expanse of water and mountains and sky that felt like a daily reminder that life could be bigger, brighter, more beautiful than she'd imagined. She heard Adrian's footsteps before she saw him, felt his arms wrap around her waist from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. "Good morning, Mrs. Wolfe," he murmured against her neck. "Good morning yourself. Coffee's ready. You're an angel." "I know. You're lucky to have me. Don't I know it?" They'd fallen into new rhythms in Seattle, routines that felt intentional rather than automatic. Weekend hikes in the Cascades. Thursday night cooking experiments where they tried recipes neither of them knew how to make. Sunday mornings at the farmer's market, holding hands and sampling fresh berries and artisan cheeses. Small things that added up to a life they'd built together, consciously, carefully. Elena had found work at a progressive charter school that aligned with her values, working with at-risk youth who reminded her why she'd chosen this career in the first place. Adrian thrived at his new firm, finally in an environment that valued innovation and work-life balance. For the first time in years, he left work at work and came home ready to be present. "I have news," Elena said, turning in his arms to face him. "Good news or bad news?" "Good news. Great news, actually. Remember that grant proposal I submitted? For the peer counseling program. The one you've been working on for months. We got it. Full funding. $50,000 to launch a student-led mental health initiative." Adrian's face lit up. "Elena, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you. All those late nights you stayed up helping me edit, talking through my ideas. You did the work. I just cheered from the sidelines. You did more than that. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." He kissed her, soft and sweet, and Elena marveled at how different this felt from their early kisses, which had been all passion and urgency. This was deeper. Richer. The kind of kiss that came from knowing someone completely and choosing to love them anyway. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Lydia, who'd become even more important in Elena's life now that they were separated by distance. They video called every Sunday, had a running text thread that never ended, sent each other ridiculous memes at all hours. "Lydia, guess who got asked out by the hot librarian?" "Elena, details." "Now." "Lydia, his name is Marcus. He reads poetry. He has a dog. I'm trying not to freak out." "Elena, this is amazing. When's the date?" "Lydia, Friday. I need you to talk me down from my panic spiral. Elena, call me tonight." "I got you." Elena smiled as she set down her phone. She missed Lydia fiercely, missed their spontaneous coffee dates and emergency wine nights, but distance had taught her that real friendship didn't require proximity. It required showing up, even from thousands of miles away. "Lydia?" Adrian guessed. "She has a date with a librarian named Marcus who reads poetry. Good for her. She deserves someone great. She really does." That evening, Elena and Adrian attended a dinner party hosted by colleagues from Adrian's firm. It was the kind of social event Elena used to dread, making small talk with strangers, pretending to be fascinated by conversations about market trends and investment portfolios. But tonight felt different. She felt different. She watched Adrian across the room, laughing with a group of people, animated and engaged, and felt a surge of affection so strong it surprised her. This was her husband. Her partner. Her person. And she'd almost lost him because they'd both been too scared to be vulnerable, too proud to ask for help. A woman approached her, one of the senior partner's wives. Margaret, Elena remembered. Late 50s, kind eyes, impressive silver hair. You and Adrian seem very happy, Margaret observed. We are. It wasn't always this way, but we worked hard to get here. I can tell. You can always tell the couples who fought for their marriages. They have a different quality to them. More substance, more appreciation. We definitely have appreciation. We almost lost each other. Margaret smiled knowingly. Most good marriages have a near-death experience. Mine did, about 15 years ago. My husband had an affair. Nearly destroyed us. Elena looked at her in surprise. How did you get through it? Therapy. Honesty. A decision that we were worth saving. It wasn't easy, and some days I still carry the hurt, but we're stronger now than we ever were before. Pain, when you survive it together, can become the foundation for something beautiful. That's a lovely way to think about it. It's the only way I could think about it without going crazy. Margaret squeezed Elena's hand. Hold on to what you've built. Marriage is a garden. You have to tend it constantly or weeds take over. Later, driving home, Elena told Adrian about the conversation. Do you ever worry, she asked, that we'll fall back into old patterns? That we'll stop trying? Every day, Adrian admitted. But worrying keeps me accountable. It reminds me not to take us for granted. I worry too. But I also trust us now in a way I didn't before. We've proven we can survive the hard stuff. We have. He reached across the console to take her hand. And we'll keep proving it. Every single day. Do you know that you can save a soul right now by subscribing? You can put a smile on someone's face, basically touching a life right now by subscribing. 3 weeks later, Elena received an unexpected package in the mail. No return address, just her name and their Seattle apartment number. Inside was a book, a collection of Mary Oliver poems, and a note. Elena. I'm getting married. Claire and I are taking the leap, and I wanted you to know. You helped me understand what it means to fight for love, even when you were fighting for someone else's. Thank you for that lesson. I hope you and Adrian are thriving. I hope Seattle is everything you dreamed. All the best. Bryson. P.S. This collection includes the poem I sent you. I thought you might like to have the full context. Elena showed the note to Adrian that evening. He read it carefully, then looked up at her. How do you feel? Happy for him. Grateful. A little nostalgic, maybe, but in a healthy way. He represented a turning point for me, a wake-up call that I needed to demand more from my life, from us. I'll always appreciate that, even though I'm glad things worked out the way they did. Me too. Adrian pulled her close. I'm glad you chose me. I'm glad we chose each other. Every day, Elena whispered. I choose you every day. That weekend, they drove to Olympic National Park, hiking through ancient forests where trees grew so tall they seemed to touch the sky. They stopped at a waterfall, sitting on moss-covered rocks, listening to the roar of water cascading over stone. I've been thinking, Adrian said. About the future. About what we want. What do we want? I want kids. Someday. When we're ready. I want to build a family with you, Elena. Not because it's what people do, but because I can't imagine anything more beautiful than creating life with you. Elena felt her heart swell. They'd talked about children before, in abstract terms, someday conversations that never had urgency. But hearing him say it now, with such certainty, such hope, made it feel real. I want that too, she said. Not yet. But soon. When we're settled, when we've had more time to just be us. No rush. We have time. We have all the time in the world. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the waterfall, and Elena thought about the journey that had brought them here. From that awful morning in Adrian's office to this moment of peace and possibility. They'd traveled through betrayal and fear and near destruction to arrive at something stronger, something real. Her phone buzzed. A video call from Lydia. "Sorry," Elena said to Adrian. "I told her to call. Emergency date debrief." "Take it. I'll go take some photos." Elena answered to find Lydia's face filling the screen, glowing with happiness. "Oh my God," Lydia said. "Oh my God, Elena, I think I'm in love. It's been one date." I know, but it was the best date of my life. We talked for 6 hours. 6 hours. And at the end, when he kissed me, I swear I saw stars. Actual stars." Elena laughed, joy bubbling up at seeing her best friend so happy. "Tell me everything." They talked for an hour, Lydia recounting every detail of her perfect date while Elena listened and encouraged and celebrated with her. When they finally hung up, Adrian had returned with a memory card full of photos. "How's Lydia?" he asked. "In love. Or thinks she is. Either way, she's happy." "Good. She deserves it." They drove back to Seattle as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold and purple. Elena rested her head on Adrian's shoulder, feeling contentment settle over her like a blanket. "You know what I realized," she said. "What?" "We're happy. Not perfect, not without struggles, but genuinely happy." "When did that happen?" "Gradually. Then all at once. Like falling in love. Like falling back in love. I like being in love with you. I like being in love with you too." For months later, Elena stood in front of her students at the charter school, wrapping up the first semester of the peer counseling program. 20 students had been trained as peer counselors, learning to support their classmates through mental health struggles, identity issues, family problems. The program had exceeded every expectation, and Elena felt pride swell in her chest at what they'd built together. "You all have done incredible work this semester," she told them. "You've created a safe space for students who felt alone. You've listened without judgment. You've shown that asking for help is strength, not weakness. I'm proud of every single one of you." A student named Jasmine raised her hand. "Ms. Wolf? Can I say something?" "Of course. You taught us that it's okay to struggle. That everybody goes through hard things, even adults, even people who seem like they have it all together. And that helped me, like, a lot. Because I thought I was the only one messing up, you know? But you showed us that everybody's just trying their best." Elena felt tears prick her eyes. "Thank you, Jasmine. That means more than you know." After the students left, Elena sat at her desk, reflecting on how far she'd come. A year ago, she'd been drowning in her own struggles, barely able to help herself let alone guide others. Now she was thriving, using her own pain as a bridge to connect with young people who needed to know they weren't alone. Her phone rang. "Adrian." "Hey, you," she answered. "Hey. What time are you coming home?" "About an hour." "Why?" "Because I'm making dinner, and I want to time it perfectly." "You're cooking? Should I be worried?" "Ha ha. I've been practicing. Trust me. I always trust you." The words slipped out naturally, easily, and Elena realized they were true. She did trust him. Completely. They'd rebuilt that trust brick by brick, conversation by conversation, choice by choice. When she arrived home, the apartment smelled incredible. Candles flickered on the dining table, soft music played from the speakers, and Adrian stood in the kitchen wearing an apron she'd bought him as a joke that he now wore unironically. "Welcome home," he said, grinning. "What's all this?" "Just wanted to do something nice for my wife." "Is that allowed?" "It's more than allowed." It's appreciated. They ate together, talking about their days, making plans for the weekend, discussing whether they should adopt a dog or wait until they bought a house. Normal, domestic conversations that felt like miracles because they'd almost never had them again. After dinner, Adrian pulled out an envelope. "I have something for you," he said. "Another surprise?" "Open it." Inside were 2 tickets. Elena looked at them, confused at first, then realized what she was seeing. Tickets to a wedding. Bryson and Claire's wedding. "I know you said you were happy for him," Adrian explained. "And I thought, maybe we should go. Show him we're grateful for the role he played in our story, even if it was complicated. Plus, it might be good closure for all of us." Elena looked at her husband, at the man who'd grown so much, who'd become secure enough in their marriage to suggest attending the wedding of a man she'd once had feelings for. "Are you sure?" she asked. "I'm sure. He's moved on. You've moved on. We've moved on. And maybe seeing him happy will be good for us, a reminder that everyone gets their ending when they're brave enough to fight for it. Why haven't you subscribed? Don't you like the story? Come on, join the family. Hit that button." They flew back east for the wedding 2 months later. It was held in a beautiful garden, spring flowers blooming everywhere, the air sweet with the scent of jasmine and roses. Elena wore a simple blue dress, Adrian looked handsome in a suit, and when they arrived, Bryson greeted them with genuine warmth. "You came," he said, smiling. "I wasn't sure you would." "We wouldn't miss it," Elena said. "Congratulations, Bryson. I'm so happy for you." "Thank you. And thank you both for coming. It means a lot." He shook Adrian's hand. "Take care of her." "Every day," Adrian promised. They watched Bryson marry Claire, a vibrant woman with red hair and an infectious laugh, and Elena felt only joy. No regret, no what ifs, just happiness for someone who'd been kind to her when she needed kindness. At the reception, Claire approached their table. "You must be Elena," she said warmly. "Bryson told me about you. About how you helped him understand what it means to fight for love." "He helped me too," Elena admitted. "He reminded me what I deserved. Well, I'm grateful. Because whatever happened between you two made him ready for this." She gestured around at the wedding, at Bryson dancing with his mother, at the celebration of new beginnings. "Ready for real love. You both deserve it." As they danced later, Elena in Adrian's arms, she felt the last piece of her old life click into place. They'd come full circle, from pain to healing to celebration. Everyone had found their happiness. Everyone had done the work. "What are you thinking about?" Adrian asked. "How lucky we are. How easily this could have gone differently. How grateful I am that we chose the hard thing instead of the easy thing." "Me too. Every single day, me too." They stayed in their old city for a few extra days, meeting up with Lydia and her boyfriend Marcus, visiting Elena's former colleagues, walking through familiar streets that no longer felt like home but like a chapter that had closed peacefully. On their last night, they had dinner with Lydia and Marcus at a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. "Look at us," Lydia said, raising her wine glass. "A year ago, Elena's marriage was falling apart, I was chronically single and cynical, and now look. She's thriving, I'm in love, we're all happy and disgustingly functional." "To growth," Marcus said, smiling at Lydia with obvious adoration. "To second chances," Adrian added. "To choosing love," Elena finished. "Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." They clinked glasses, and Elena looked around the table at the people she loved, feeling overwhelming gratitude. Life hadn't been easy. Love hadn't been simple. But they'd all fought for what mattered, and now they were reaping the rewards of that courage. Flying back to Seattle the next day, Elena held Adrian's hand during takeoff, no longer afraid of heights or change or the unknown. They'd proven they could handle whatever came their way as long as they handled it together. "I love you," she said. "I love you too. Ready to go home?" "With you?" "Always." Their Seattle apartment welcomed them back with familiar comfort. Elena unpacked while Adrian checked work emails, and as she hung up her clothes, she found the compass necklace he'd given her months ago. She'd worn it to the wedding, then tucked it away carefully. She put it on now, feeling its weight against her chest, its reminder, no matter how lost they felt, they could always find their way back to each other. That night, as they lay in bed, windows open to let in the cool Seattle breeze, Adrian turned to her. "I've been thinking about baby names," he said. Elena's heart skipped. "Yeah? If we have a girl, I like Sophia. And if we have a boy, maybe James. Those are beautiful names. We don't have to decide now. But I wanted you to know I'm thinking about it. About our future. About the family we're going to build." Elena snuggled closer to him. "I'm thinking about it too. And I'm ready. Not tomorrow, but soon. I'm ready to take that next step with you. We're going to be amazing parents. We're going to mess up a lot. Yeah, but we'll mess up together. And we'll fix it together. That's what we do." Elena smiled in the darkness. That was what they did. They messed up and fixed it. They fell down and got back up. They hurt each other and healed each other. They chose each other, every single day, even when choosing was hard. Especially when choosing was hard. 3 months later, Elena sat in a doctor's office, Adrian beside her, both of them staring at a small screen where a tiny heartbeat flickered. "Congratulations," the doctor said, smiling. "You're pregnant." Elena's hand found Adrian's, and they held each other, tears streaming down both their faces, overwhelmed by joy and terror and hope. "We're having a baby," Adrian whispered. "We're having a baby," Elena repeated. They drove home in stunned silence, both processing the magnitude of what was happening. Their life was expanding, their love creating new life, their family beginning. That evening, they called their people. Lydia screamed so loud they had to hold the phone away from their ears. Adrian's parents cried. Elena's mother offered unsolicited advice about prenatal vitamins and pregnancy cravings. It was chaotic and overwhelming and perfect. Before bed, Adrian placed his hand on Elena's still flat stomach. "Hi, baby," he whispered. "We can't wait to meet you. We're going to love you so much. We're going to mess up sometimes, but we're going to always try our best. And we're going to teach you that love is a choice, and choosing is brave, and bravery is worth it." Elena covered his hand with hers, feeling the promise of new life beneath their palms, the culmination of everything they'd fought for. "We're going to tell them our story," Elena said. "About how we almost lost each other and found our way back. So they know that love isn't perfect, but it's worth fighting for." "Our love story," Adrian agreed. "The real kind. With struggle and pain and triumph. The best kind." They lay in bed that night, holding each other, feeling their baby's tiny heartbeat joining their own, creating a rhythm of 3 instead of 2. Their family. Their future. Their hard-won happiness. And Elena thought about everything that had led them here, the pain, the betrayal, the fear, the courage, the choice. Every moment had been necessary, every struggle had taught them something, every near ending had made their new beginning possible. "You don't lose a marriage in a day," she thought, echoing words she'd once heard. "You lose it in 1,000 quiet moments. And you save it the same way. One conversation. One choice. One day at a time." She closed her eyes, Adrian's arms around her, their baby safe inside her, and felt peace settle over her like grace. They'd saved their marriage. They'd found their way home. And tomorrow, they'd wake up and choose each other again. Because that was what love was, not a destination, but a journey. Not a feeling, but an action. Not luck, but work. Beautiful, exhausting, worthwhile work. And they would do that work, together, for the rest of their lives. Elena Wolfe and Adrian Wolfe's story reminds us that sometimes the person who walked away simply made space for the life you deserved all along. And sometimes, the person you almost lost becomes the person who saves you, if you're brave enough to fight. Love doesn't fail because it faces challenges. It fails when people stop choosing each other. But when two people decide that their bond is worth the battle, when they choose vulnerability over pride, honesty over comfort, and growth over stagnation, magic happens. Not the fairy tale kind. The real kind. The kind that lasts. Thank you for joining Elena and Adrian on their journey. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear that love, real love, is always worth fighting for.